Hey guys, this is Kirop speaking, and in today's little dev update we are going to take a look at patch number 7 that is upcoming for the Lite Campaign V3 and what it contains. I'm very well aware that there hasn't been a little dev update in quite a while, and there are numerous reasons for that, none of which are really related to lack of development progress. That has been going pretty well, more like NZGDC and becoming apparent and stuff. So anyway, we are going to take a look at some of the major changes in the campaign mode and the designers. And this patch number 7 is mainly focused on quality of life improvements and clarity and UI feedback, which is still, even with this version of course, severely lacking overall, which makes the game harder to play than it really should be. And yeah, we are well aware of that, and we are working on slowly chipping away at resolving those issues. Anyway, let me show you instead of just blabbering about it. So let's start a new Lite campaign, and for that, of course, we have to acknowledge the disclaimer first. How many of you have actually read this one? I wonder. Doesn't seem to be too many, because we so often get critiqued for exactly what is written in the disclaimer. Anyway, we can just do the standard stuff here. Let me name a company. We start out in Helvetia with a premium car company. And I'm just going to leave it at the standard settings for brutal difficulty. Not very hard. Gives us 500 million. Very nice. So, start the campaign. And look at that! A little bit of fluff. Isn't it nice? One thing that is quite practical, which I wanted to show off. So this is a bit of a blurb, depending on what settings you chose, and just to give you, or the new player, a bit of a feel for what you're supposed to be doing. Anything you see in this version as of yet is not necessarily final for its layouting and so on, but I believe that this is a step in the right direction, and we also step towards a bit more of a tutorial. As you can see here, these icons are now, well, these are a bit too small. These icons are part of our font, which means that we can use them in text, which will make some things a little bit more concise if we want to go there. So yes, that's quite neat. So let's straight up start into making a new car project instead of being dropped into a hub where you don't even know what to click. So of course that kind of shifts the problem to later on, but this is our new first landing page, and it is a new tab in the project designer, basically the market tab, but with a lot of new interesting modes and heat maps. I think I mentioned some of these before, but I don't think I've ever been able to show them to you. So let me just quickly take a look. So currently we have these 2 or 3 countries selected. You can just toggle them whatever way you like. We have no dealerships in Gazmir or Forinia at this point, so let's just look at the... Oh no, it shouldn't really matter, because we are going to look at untapped revenue. There's not much untapped revenue there. And that is because we are limiting it to our awareness currently. So let's look at the full market. Possible revenue and untapped revenue at this point should be the same, because we are not selling any cars. So possible revenue. Alright, where can we make a big buck? Premium is looking pretty nice, isn't it? Yeah, 100%. This is actually the largest, the best demographic. And if we now limit it to our awareness, you see that, ooh, with our current awareness, we are going to be able to make about 3.37 million out of them, if we sell 100% of our relative share, and we have a car that scores about 100 competitiveness. It's normalized to that, of course. If your car is so immensely popular that it goes way beyond 100, then actually new people flock into this demographic in order to buy your car. But we shall continue here. What other modes do we have? Probably I should show them off once we have some data in there, because that makes more sense. Anyway, we are supposed to select a target demographic for our first trim, and we are going to aim for the premium market. And our very first car will of course be a sedan, and one that looks really old, because we are very conservative in our design. Ignore this top bar right now. This is from a previous game which doesn't seem to have reset yet, but I assume it will as soon as we move forward. Alright, I'm in familiarity mode currently. Let me switch that or toggle that off. So just as you know, you can toggle this here to see how familiar the items are. That is not new, of course. So now, next page is one that has also been added. It still looks awful, but I think this will make a lot of things a lot clearer. Overall, you see quite a bit of changes down here. What we have done in this update, or what we will have for you in this update, it's not out yet, is that we are going to put more something like the sandbox mode into campaign, so that you are more familiar with the whole flow. You always, whenever you edit a car, you don't jump around between places. Like if you want to modify the engine, you don't have to jump to the engine project, like various steps into the engine project, and then edit the engine, and then come back out and go into the car, but rather the engine that is in the car you can just access from your normal sandbox-like timeline. And whenever an engine is locked and you can't actually modify it because it already has been signed off, it will be locked in there as well, so you can't modify it. So I think that will work quite a bit more intuitively than our previous very compartmentalized approach to showing you that. I personally, from a structural point, I like the compartmentalized thing better, but I can see that this here will flow a lot better, and so yeah, I think people will appreciate the straightforwardness of this. So this, like I said, still looks awful, but this is the in-between engine page. Now here you have the main selection should always be choose an existing engine. If you have one available, which you have made for the project, then yeah, choose that one. Second option is nothing new either, like none of these are new, but there's a bit more information about them and so on. And they are ordered the way you should be considering it. Like, do I have an existing engine? No, okay. Do I have the option of making a new variant of an existing engine? No, not right now. Well, then you have to make a new engine project. Let's make a new engine project. So we create our engine project, just give it a name, and the first variant name. Once you have given it a name, you can start the new engine project, and there we are in the very not 1946 looking studio. And there we have it, just quickly designed a 2.5 liter inline 6, should be plenty of power for a premium vehicle that early on. That's basically a hypercar in that era. So yes, that's all good. Let's continue. And there we have the first build ready. I haven't tuned the suspension yet, and you can see some differences here. It's not finished by no means, but you can see some differences here. Dashed lines, yes, we have finally gotten around to completely writing our own line code. And now we can do fancy stuff like coloring areas and dashed lines and all kinds of good stuff. And you will see some really more fancy graphs in future, where we can finally do a bit more guiding of the eye than we previously could with just a simple, pretty awful line drawing code that is in the engine by default. So that's a lot better, and finally starting to look good as well. Of course, there's still issues here with the legend not being appropriately dashed where it needs to be. And that looks like a decent score, just a standard comfort tuning, 358, not too shabby. So our demographics are looking like this, pretty much spot on for where we want it to be, catering to all the markets that are relevant there, all the premium markets. And now I've just exited via the up arrow, and we are back on the page which you know as something familiar. So here we have our first trim now in its trim slot, with the engine slotted in there as well. And the only thing that is quite hidden right now is where to clone your trim to make more of them. So yes, we could do that there, but I think I'm just going to build this one trim first. So just let me quickly reiterate what the new concept here is. You still have the project timeline as you know it, but now you have, when you go into this one, enter Car Designer to edit the L46, alright, let's do it. In here, you have the full designer, with engine designer and everything. So if you want to edit the engine in here, you can, but be aware, of course, that if you're changing this engine, and you have this engine mounted in other cars as well, then you will be changing the engine for those cars as well. If we, for instance, now would have a facelift, a first facelift of this engine, like for the second model we are building, or for facelift of this of the Vega, then we would have this panel locked, because you should be able to see it, but you shouldn't be able to change it. Now let's set up the production and engineering and so on. There's some changes in there too, but most of them will be more apparent once you have some more trims, which we shall do for the second iteration of this one. Let's go... Oh, yeah, now the question is, do we actually have the 3 billion? Is this actually a bug? I've already reported it, but is this actually a bug and we have 3 billion? Because then I would go for a medium one instantly. But if not, then... yeah, I don't want to replay this. So, small 2? Yeah, that's a good compromise. It does cost me basically nothing. Oh, we could go for a small 3. So now there is some things I want to keep, have you keep in mind. And this is the efficiency number here, as well as the cars being produced and the production cost per car. That is material cost and labor. And no, you don't have to remember the numbers, it's just that those concepts are important, as well as the flags. Still missing tooltips here, while on some other pages they do have tooltips. Much requested. I often get the question, what do these flags even mean? Well, the blue one is limited production, and the yellow one is no mass production. A red flag would be cannot be produced at all, and a green flag often doesn't show up because why should it? But that just means full production. You will see that in tooltips and so on. There's no limit on production in that case. So now we have set up our car factory one, a small 3, and now we go to engineering. And we have changed this panel a bit to give you some more information. Still not done, of course, but some good stuff in here, that all your factories will be showing up in here. The tooling time, or rather build time, total time to create this factory, so that you can pick out the worst one. It's like, oh, 8 months? Okay, yeah, I probably should have this project take longer than 8 months. Which isn't really difficult for the first original car you're building. But back to why I was saying keep those numbers in mind. Well, they are showing up here now as well, and you can finally now see what these sliders are doing specifically. So the tooling, well, this numbers, this is still a bug. It's very coarse, so you can't really see how it's changing, but you see that more tooling gives you more cars, and will also, for the number of cars, reduce this number. And also, it will make the production cost per car quite a bit lower. Oh, should this actually... this material cost per car, they should be constant, while the production cost, the labor cost, is going down. This is different for the process slider, which is not automated and manual, but rather optimized and wasteful. This is about the materials. And here you see the change, like if you pull it down, then every car material cost is 10,700, while here it's kind of half, almost. And the last number in here, which is important, is, of course, the efficiency of the factory. And if you are not optimizing your tooling enough, this mechanic has been in for a long time now. All of these mechanics have been in for a long time, but they were kind of hidden, and, well, that's bad. So here they are on display. If your tooling is set too low in the engineering, then this car will not be engineered to be produced with a higher automated factory. So at tooling 0, you see, okay, that's 80%. Then it rises, it gets more efficient, and this factory currently, with these production flags, caps out at 83.8% or 0.9%. And then you just don't gain more. It's like, yeah, this car is ready to be produced in a more automated factory, but yeah, you don't get anything out of it. What still does improve, though, is that labor costs are reduced, because there is still more automation, less staff, and so on. But the factory isn't considered under or over-tooled anymore. I want to get that first car out there as soon as possible, and thus, that's a nice scoring there. 47 months, alright, let's do the same thing for the engine. This is still the normal flow you are already aware of if you've played the Lite campaign, and I think this is a flow that we are going to keep. It does make sense to have 2 timelines and not more of them. We might be able to further optimize the flow of factories and so on, but here we now have to set up the engine project. Let's do that. We are at least being dropped into the correct page. So, engine needs to be produced. And just setting it up at 50-50 seems fine. And now I will be able to show you a new feature, which is also much requested. Oh, we need to optimize that first. One thing that many of you have always been asking for while playing the Lite campaign is, but how can I tell if I'm producing enough engines or not? Well, that question has been on our lips as well all the time we've been playing. And now finally, I think we are able to answer this. Let me first change a bit of tooling here. Let's make it less efficient, more wasteful. What did we say? 46? Or was it 47? 47, right? Yeah, 47. So, 47 there, and now, ta-da! Well, this is still damn ugly, but it is going to be really useful. So what this one shows is the load of the engine factory as a function of the car factory shifts. So if you're running your car factory at 2 shifts, your engine factory will be running at just about 1 shift. So now you can see, oh, okay, my engine factory is slightly oversized for what I'm trying to do. So you could go in here, change this one around like, oh, no, I'm not going to spend all that money on my factory, and just sign that one off again with the same settings. And now go back to this one and you see, oh, this is nicely matched. We don't need a larger factory than this. All right, that sounds good. Another very important new feature, which finally has made it in, is a way to play the game which is a lot more realistic, and that is not with cash in your wallet and only that, but rather with financing. So we have put in the project-related financing. This is available for both the car and the engine projects separately. So what does this one do? This one just means no loan, as you can see from the little tooltip here. No loan. We have the option of plot costs only. We haven't purchased a plot, so that would be a total of $0 of a loan. Very cheap. I like that. Plot costs only. Then plot costs and factory costs. There we have our 10.6 million. That is how much the factory costs to build, the upgrade, the tooling. We haven't upgraded it, it's still a small one. And then we have the next option, that is plot costs, factory costs, and engineering costs. Now we are up to 23.7 million. And then we have a little hourglass there as well. And that just means that the first payback date is when the project finishes, so that you don't have to start paying right away, but rather first when you actually are supposed to make a profit. So that is quite handy, and of course you can see how the just the additional weight here is another 2.1 million extra. And you can see how this develops and how much you're paying. The rate should go up as well, but not if you have 3 billion in the bank. That's basically as low a rate as you can get then. Yeah, credit rating A+. So they don't care. They just want to give you money. It's free money for them. So we are not going to take a loan, but I just wanted to show you that. Really, really handy. And of course you can change this in some percentage-wise. You can up this and reduce it again and so on. And you can have different term length as well if you want to have a different kind of loan. So now we are able to sign this one off. Let's do that. The engine project is now ready. Now let's hop over to our forecasting screen. That is looking pretty solid. Let's just up the minimum shifts. Oh, yeah, okay. This is complaining about, we have so little market. We can't possibly sell that many cars. Well, that won't be a problem because we are going to up our dealerships. And there is some more regarding that as well. Company awareness needs to up. Oh, this is probably not implemented just yet. But yeah, we are choosing a payback of 5 years, the target payback of 5 years for the project. And here we have our load graph, once again, still as ugly as it is. And this one now says that, okay, we are going to produce 766 cars per month. And I don't know how exactly that works with the engine numbers that were shown there. I think that was a bug too, but let's hope this is accurate. As you can see, we have aligned our project already. It's all ready to go. Here we can take out a loan for the car project itself, and that would be 39 million there. Then we have with the engineering 65, and with the additional wait time, that is a total cost which increases. Of course, you don't get more money for that, but total cost that increases quite a bit. So, no, not going to take it out. We have plenty of money. So sign this one off, and the usual, yes, sign these off together and agree. And now let's head back to the hub. And as you can see, this is signed off now, and we have the factories in here as well. You see them down here, how long they're going to take. And now let's head into the dealerships and marketing screen. Or, no, let's wait for 2 years first. 2 years have passed, and let's head over to the dealerships. Gazmere, level 0. That's not acceptable. Level 3 is much nicer. Helvetia, we have a level 2 for free, and level 3 is coming up then. Okay, Fruinia. Let's also go for level 3. Do we want more here? Maybe. Not for the tiny factory we have. That's small one. No, small 2 for the car. And also start to do some marketing. We are all about the massive amounts of prestige that our car has. And now we've given it basically 2 years for that to sink in. Because dealerships are no longer instantaneous, but rather they build over time. And if we could advance time in that screen, you would be able to see that. So of course that costs to build up and to maintain. Quite hurtful, but important. So now we've waited a year, and let's check out our dealerships. We are now at level 0.86. Target level is 3, and our maximum awareness has increased to 9%. And the minimum has been lifted to 3% for these, and we are at 23% maximum and 7% minimum for Helvetia. But of course, if you look in here, you will see that the Helvetia awarenesses are higher in some of the demographics than in the others, and that is because of the marketing. We are marketing towards higher prestige demographics, and thus the higher prestige demographics will be all about your cars and anticipating them. So 8.8% there, while in the most prestigious of categories, it would be off-road budget, we are at 6.8%, the minimum. And there our car is going into production and starting to sell really well. We have a first batch sold of 765 cars just as planned, so somehow this engine factory kept up despite saying it only can produce 300 engines. Maybe that was the one shift count or something. Let's head over to the research and development and also invest some in there. We do have plenty of money after all. $500,000 per month? Well, that's pretty expensive, but I think we can stave that off. Yeah, this will have to increase further, but our reach will also increase further. And as soon as this has settled in a bit, I'm going to show you some of the new market modes. So this is looking pretty solid. We are making a decent profit off of this. Not quite back to our starting money yet, but that's fine. Our research is increasing, slowly but surely, and I do want to get them to 1.0 or at least have the year tick, so let's have that. There we go. And now it's time for a facelift, and then I'm going to show you what this thing is. So, let's make a quick facelift. Also, now less confusing is that your original design no longer is shown as a facelift, because technically it isn't, or well, on the back end it is considered a facelift, but not in the real world. That's your original design, and now we're going to make the first facelift. There we go. Also at the same time I'm going to update the engine and make a new variant of this one, clone the contents, of course, as always, and make a sports version of it as well. Now when I'm backing out of here, I will be automatically getting back to the car trim, as that is where I was coming from, so the flow has been made a bit better in that regard. Now we have to definitely edit this one, and it should contain our new engine, the A51L, and we can edit it from straight in here. And as you can see, the family tab is now locked because, well, the engine already exists. You can't change the family, but you can change the variant. And this will be our new luxury version of this engine. Reverse flow has come online, very nice. That will help out a bit. We have gained some fuel system tech, and we by now know the twin single carb. That's easy, so let's bump up quality to +5, for instance. Very nice. And there's plenty of octane left. Looks like I didn't ever optimize that in the first place. I would love to go for an automatic gearbox, but that will incur so much engineering time that I don't quite want to take this one on. Not for a little facelift here. Anyway, because I'm also going to make a sports trim which still has the manual gearbox. Now let's make a sports version of this one. A little coupe. Probably now a GT version of this one. So I can just delete out the engine from its slot, and then when I go to edit the trim, it asks me, oh well, what do you want to do? It doesn't have an engine. Well, I want to choose an existing engine because I've already designed it, and this would be this one. And with the updated engine, we have a very nice target demographic of the GT. I don't need to target the premium anymore. And let me see, yeah, I did change it to the coupe, and we don't have any new tech available there. Other than that, I think the only thing we need to change is to have this one set up to be normal. Yeah, that's slightly better. Oh, and of course we can go for sports tires. And now that we have figured out this luxury interior business, why not add a bit of quality to it as well? +3, sits nicely. Look at how much change this makes when you lower it or up it. Very nice. This is the normal markets tab you have here on the testing page. And let me show you, of course you can also drop down the proper markets analysis tab. And this one will now be quite interesting and useful. Let's activate all the demographics and then show the available awareness that we the untapped revenue we have in total, so possible revenue basically. And you can see that, well, right now that's not much change there because we are catering to so little with our awareness that is very limited. Let's have a quick look at awareness, just 14%. That's not that much. We need to really update our factories to be producing a lot more. And we are already focused on these, but now we have two variants that are a lot better catering to the GT market, as well as then one still catering to the luxury market. The GT market has also soaked up quite a bit of sales of our premium car, but yes, we now have one that is specially tailored to them. And this mode is what will be really handy. Currently, this tells me that, well, at the current numbers, you don't actually need to make a GT version, because if we look at our untapped revenue and limit it to our awareness, you can see that there is no more money to make in these markets. Another 200k in here and another 18,000 here. That's not even one car. Yeah, that won't help us much. But of course, also we want to be growing, upgrading our factories, upgrading our dealerships. And then these numbers will be looking more like the possible revenue numbers, dreaming big, you know. So there's another 20 million in the GT and GT Premium. Or 10 million in GT Premium, so there's plenty more money to make there. And now I'm upgrading to a medium 1 factory, and that is very deliberate. We do have a new feature in here which will help us in the transition to a medium 1. Usually it really hurts to upgrade a full level of a factory because of the long downtime of your production, especially if it's your only factory you're using. And let me show you how we get around that. Now this is coming a bit more in handy. You can see that, okay, the rebuilding of the factory takes 11 months. That includes the retooling. And now we have upped our production to 1,890 cars per month at 2 shifts, I believe it is. Our engineering time is 20 months. That should be good. And is there anything else? No, this is all looking good. So now for the engine with its new variant. This is still in a small 1 factory. That needs a big upgrade. The factory takes 15 months to remake into a medium 1, and that should be, ooh, wow, yeah, that's very, very future-proof. We are way under load. Another little tidbit here about what is going on with this financing stuff. The first value that is being shown here is your estimated company value. And you can see that despite us having lost some money, this number has actually increased. And that is because we have more assets right now that are producing revenue. Also, we have an actual cash flow, so the overall company valuation has gone up. Oh wow, we would be able to produce 6,000 engines now at 3 shifts. That's more than enough. And this supposedly is a massive profit machine. Let's see if that is true. Again. Oh, this is starting really soon. Yeah, that's a little scary. That is a little scary. You know what? I'm going to increase the engineering time so that the retooling doesn't come in quite as soon. Because we do need to set something specific up. I'm alluding to it already several times. But how about we make the car more reliable so that our reputation isn't quite as much in the gutter? Alright, perfect. Now upped it by 10 months. That should help us out. And more reliability. Doesn't necessarily help the car scoring, and it's a wee bit of a problem for opportunity cost, but we still have a car that sells. Yeah, and it helps me show off a feature. So that's more important than anything else. And yeah, still everything is good. Everything is good. Now this gap is larger. So we have about 16 months before... no, it should be 15. 15 months before we go into retooling. We're ready to sign this one off. And now finally, I can show you something pretty neat. And that would be... nope, we go back to the hub. This feature. This is your stock manager. And yes, so what this one does is you click there and the target stock level is currently at 6, but we want it to be at 15. So this is an empty bar now, and as we are increasing as we are moving forward, hopefully. Oh, does it manage to fill up anything? Yeah, ever so slowly. We're not quite meeting demand, are we? You can see it increase slowly. So if we had planned this a bit better and weren't so completely undersupplied, then you would see this bar rise a bit quicker. We are now at 3 stock months, and you can see that. Now you see how long your stock would last. That's the bar. And now we are starting to retool, and now you see this one stop because we can't produce. Oh, no. There was a change in desirability, I assume. That's why it lasted longer now. But now you see the stock has been used up, and now our revenue drops off completely, and we are without a car. And I need to now really increase those levels. Go to level 5 for all the things, including marketing, of course. So now the new car will come online. Let's see, just a few months of wait time. It shouldn't have been there. And it is selling really well. Yes, profit-making machine. And now you see 2 of these bars, and both are by default set to 6 months worth of stock. And the sales AI will try to slowly fill this up over the course of a year is usually the target, but yeah, you can, if you're demanding more, then it will try to squeeze it more. And you can see them slowly fill up over time, and that's a really neat feature, I think, just to be able to, for you to plan out a bit more of your retooling and so on. Because this was scary, like just trying to, because you can't directly manipulate the pricing. This meant that you easily end up with way too much undersupply there, and then have a year or even more where you can't sell anything. And that's not really how car companies operate, do they? You can, of course, change them individually. So if I want to have a 12 months worth of stock for this one, then I can just set it there. So this is on a per trim basis. Oh, I think that will help you understand some of these new features. I'm quite happy with this, apart from me being in a depression right now. And I do want to show you the final iteration of where we ended up with our sales. If we limit it to our awareness, we have an untapped revenue that is, well, basically 0 for these. The possible revenue is quite high, especially in the premium. Maybe we should make something that is premium. But currently we are still underproducing. Oh yeah, wait, that is a new one. I need to show you this. You can see this here. This is a very handy one. This shows you the average affordability rating of your cars being sold into that demographic. So that means that you are selling cars into the premium demographic, but on average, those cars that have been sold into there have an affordability rating of 17.9%. So you are tapping into a very small portion of that market because of the high sales price. Why is the sales price so high? Well, easy. We are running a 100% markup. But this should really be all for now. I think this shows off most of the new features of the patch 7 that is coming to you reasonably soon. I would estimate the open beta for this one starts in about-ish 2 weeks when we have cleaned this up. So not too much more wait time for this to hit the Steam servers. And hopefully you give it a go and see if the Lite campaign slowly becomes more playable. Alright, hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.